life has some unfortunate truths in it, which from our fleshly perspective, we probably wish weren't so. It seems like living here would be so much easier if we just didn't have to face certain realities of life which come to us, but they do come. You see enough sunrises doesn't mean you've sinned. It just means you're breathing. And you will face days of disappointment. And you will know the sting of betrayed trusts. You will live through painful moments, and you will have dark valleys. And you will see hard seasons, and you will deal with broken promises, and you will hear devastating diagnoses, and you will battle wounded spirits. They are quite simply a part of our existence here due to the fall of man. Had Adam never partaken of that one forbidden tree, then we wouldn't have to be familiar with words like renewal or healed or restored or anything of the like. If it weren't for sin, there'd be nothing worn out that needed to be renewed. There'd be nothing broken that needed to be healed, and there would be nothing missing that needs to be restored. Our joy would never suffer. Every day would be pink lemonades and bunnies and butterflies. Our peace would never be under attack. We'd never know what it is to lay at night with your eyes staring at the ceiling, worried about a backslidden loved one. Our confidence would never waver. We'd live every day in that much more God we heard about last. We just lived there with never a challenge of stepping out of that place. Our assurance in the Spirit would never battle against the weakness of our flesh, but that's not real life. Real life has a component of pain. And the reality is that all of us are going to experience those aspects of life. The reality is that if we can be honest, some of us are there right now. We deal with the bitter taste of disappointments, and we wrestle with the trials of our faith. And we have moments when hope seems distant, and victory seems absent, and life seems dreary and even pointless. Moments when pain becomes our constant companion and our faithful tormentor, until thoughts that we never thought we'd entertain are regular inhabitants in our mind. Maybe I ought to just quit. Maybe I ought to just drop out and go home. I don't know if God really called me. I think I'll just go be a plumber. I think I'll quit. I'm just going to give up. Those thoughts begin to haunt our minds. I am asking somebody to get real tonight. Am I the only one that's ever said, "Where is God?" It will probably never get better. Why is it like this? I'm asking someone tonight to let your guard down for just a little bit. I'll get where I'm going. It's not going to be bad. Pain is real. We are disappointed and pain haunts our steps. We're wounded and pain marks our days. My family broke up and pain is the ever-present aftermath. My dreams were shattered and now pain takes its place. Stats tell me that 1 out of every 5 of you young ladies was molested when you were a child. That's what the statistics would tell us. And pain eats at your soul with every visit of those horrid memories. Because I have to tell you, friends, pain can't be ignored. Pain has to be dealt with. Pain has to be answered. I am preaching tonight to individuals that are dealing with hurts way down deep in your heart, matters in your family and in your past, matters right now in your church, chaos in your world, and it breeds pain in your spirit. And pain has to be answered. Pain has to be handled. And I believe God has given me one way to give you, to help you handle your pain. Now, I've got you really nervous now, man. Jackson's got us walking on the Milky Way and you're dragging us through the mud. Just hold 1 second. The man is a treasure in the Missouri district. He is one of our senior ministers. 82 years old now, I believe he would be. A couple of years ago when he was 80 years old, his name is Gerald Hamlet. He is an extremely, extraordinarily kind Christian man. He was driving his wife home from a doctor's visit about 45 minutes away from their home. They live in a little bitty town out in rural Missouri that if we were cultured at all would be pronounced Versailles. But because we live in Missouri, it's Versailles. Can't explain that, it's just real. He was driving his wife home on a 4-lane divided highway. It wasn't an interstate, but it was built like that. And we don't know exactly what happened, if he blacked out or fell asleep, but his car crossed out of the right lane he was driving in, across the left lane, across the median, across the oncoming lanes of traffic, down an embankment, across a ditch, through a fence, and stopped out in a farmer's field down on the other side. Now, God was good to these folks because they didn't hit a phone pole, they didn't hit another car, they didn't hit a tree. It came to a stop without colliding with anything, but you have to imagine the ride they took. It threw them around the inside of that car, seatbelts seized up against them and bruised them, the airbags deployed and battered them, and so they were some more shook up physically and emotionally. I called him the next day to check on him. I said, he's priceless. I said, Brother Hamlet, how you doing? He said, you know, when you're as old as I am, you don't bounce back so quick. I'm trying to be encouraging. I said, oh, old? Brother Hamlet, you're not old. Well, he is. He's sneezing dust. Of course he is, but he said, not old. He said, man, I went to a restaurant the other day and ordered a 3-minute egg, and they made me pay in advance. I said, well, that's old. He said, oh, I'm all right. He said, but you know, he said, I guess what I'm saying is that, and boy, he made a statement that resonated in my heart because of some things I was going through right then. And this is my message tonight that I want to give you, and it's not going to be the downer it sounded like when I started. Over the phone, he said, Brother Graham, I just want you to know I appreciate you calling. He said, I'm hurting, but you know, only survivors hurt. He said, I may be hurting, but you know what my pain says? It didn't kill you. It's not over. You've still got a future. You've still got a tomorrow. Pain says it's not as bad as it could have been. It may hurt, but it's not over. I just want somebody to realize tonight your pain has a testimony. Hell couldn't kill you. It's not over. You've still got a tomorrow. It's going to... I need somebody in the middle of your valley to say, hell, you got a problem on your hands. I may be hurting, but I'm still here. I may be hurting, but it's not over. I may be hurting, but I'm still going on. Only survivors hurt. I need a survivor to confuse hell right now and say, yes, I'm hurting, but I'm still here. I need a survivor to confuse your enemy right now and say, I'm still hurting, but I'm still here. You couldn't end it. You said it was over. It's not over. I may be hurting, but only survivors hurt. Pain screams. It not only bellows its threats, but it screams out a testimony tonight. You're still alive. You're still here. You made it farther than you thought you could. It didn't get you. It couldn't kill you. Satan thought he had you. He told you it was over, but you came through it. I know you might be hurting, but that just means hell didn't win. You hear me? I've got a word for somebody right now. Satan comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. But all he could do was wound. You didn't hear me. He failed. That wasn't what he came to do. He came to destroy. But all he could do is hurt you. So I know you may be lonely. I know you may be scared. I know you may be bleeding, but you need to see that as a testimony that hell failed. It couldn't destroy you. It could only hurt you, but only survivors hurt. Pain is the companion of hope. Pain resides with courage. Pain walks in tandem with faith. Because pain says, congratulations, you made it. I'm not goofy, I just look this way. I didn't say it's fun. If you like pain, there is something seriously bad wrong with you. We were tearing an old building down next to that's the church where I grew up. We were tearing it down to build our new building. Just an old house. I don't know, I was 8th grade or something like that. And I was in there, and my dad sent me out the truck to go get some tools. I don't remember what now. I ran out the porch, just jumped off down the yard. When I did, something felt funny. And I looked down, and there was a nail sticking up out of the top of my boot. That's what I said. I'm not a doctor. But even James says, brethren, these things ought not so to be. That's just. And I remember thinking, I'm tough. Because that don't even hurt. Got to wiggling around. Rascal was right between my toes. Didn't even touch me. I mean, didn't even nick me. Didn't bleed or nothing. Just came right up through the top of my boot. I just broke the board off so I could take it with me. I walked inside. Four people passed out. I was the toughest guy in the room, man. I'm just strolling around like it ain't nothing. I had the marks of an injury. As it turns out, I wasn't hurt, but I was walking. Anybody that looked at me, I sure looked hurt. All I'm saying is sometimes you come in the house of God and you've got the marks of an injury on you. You took a step and something unexpected happened, and before you could turn around, you were bleeding and hurting, and everybody around you was saying, that had to hurt. But I want to encourage somebody tonight to walk in this place and say, you know what? It wasn't what I wanted, and it wasn't what I planned, and it wasn't what I asked for. And yes, it hurts, but honey, I'm still here. I didn't backslide. I'm not in hell. I'm not in the grave. I need somebody that's got a wound in your life right now to say, you know what? I can still praise. I can still worship. I can still sing. I can still shout. I can still dance. You say, doesn't it hurt? Yeah, it hurts, but that means I'm here. That means I'm here. That means I got church problems, but I'm still here. I got people fighting me, but I'm still here. I got backslidden loved ones, but I'm still here, honey. Don't feel sorry for my pain. My pain says I'm a survivor. I just want somebody to get it. This is as complicated as it gets. You may be hurting, but you made it. You may be hurting, but it didn't kill you. You may be hurting, but you're the victor. You may be hurting, but you're still here. Somebody's got to plague hell with this. My family broke up, but I'm still here. My church is having problems, but I'm still here. The diagnosis wasn't what I wanted, but I'm still here. I battled depression, but I'm still here. Hell told me it was hopeless, but I'm still here. Some friends told me to give up, but I'm still here. I'm still singing. I'm still worshiping. I'm still praising. I may be hurting, but only survivors hurt. And that's why, a good young man, I wouldn't embarrass you for all the tea in China, but you get out in the aisle and start jumping around like that. That ain't because nothing's wrong in his world. That's because he's hurting. We see people shouting and dancing. We assume, boy, he must have it perfect. No, a lot of times it's because they're hurting. But they get this understanding. If hell wanted to kill me, I'd be dead. If hell could kill me, I'd already be dead. Hell gave the best it had, and all he could do is leave me with a scar. All he could do is leave me with a limp. But you know what? If any man be in Christ, he's a new creature. So you laugh at me if you want to, but in the middle of my darkest valley, I'm going to find a way to praise him. In the middle of my darkest time, I've still got something I can worship for. I'm still here. I'm still hurting. I'm still here. I'm still hurting. Hit me a while back. You quoted half of it tonight. Hit me a while back. If Job had the option to curse God and die, then he also had the option to bless God and live. So you just got to make a choice. I don't like what happened. I don't like the pain. I just as soon I didn't have it. But I got a choice to make. I can curse God and die, or I can bless God and live. I can walk away from the church, or I can run into the arms of Jesus. I can give up, or I can hold on. And I made up my mind. Hell gave me his best shot, and he couldn't kill me. I'm here. I'm hurting, but I'm here. I'm hurting, but I'm here. Only survivors hurt. So I may be troubled on every side, but I'll tell you what I'm not. I'm not distressed. I may be perplexed. There's stuff I don't understand, but I'm not in despair, not on your life. Oh, yeah, I felt a little bit persecuted from time to time, but I've never been forsaken. I've been cast down a time or two, but I am not destroyed. Acts chapter 5, you see the apostles were brought before the council. Gamaliel advised that they just leave them alone to see if God was in it. So they beat them. Now, folks, I'm not a biblical scholar, but I don't think there's anything fun about being flogged. There's nothing terribly exciting about having flesh peeled off your back with a whip. They've been flogged for nothing. They ain't done anything wrong. Not suffering because they blew it. And the next verse, 541. And they departed from the presence of the council, rejoicing that they were counted worthy to suffer shame for his name. Wait. Suffer shame? They didn't go, nah. They beat them. They're bleeding. They're wounded. They're hurting. And they walked out of that place rejoicing. You know why? Because they walked out of that place. You don't know why they rejoiced? Because nobody carried them out. You want to know why they rejoiced? Because they were still able to come to Mark on Friday night. You want to know why they rejoiced? Because when those kids got to singing, I could still lift my hands and give God praise. You want to know why they rejoiced? It didn't kill me. It didn't kill me. It didn't kill me. Yeah. What are you guys so happy about? Because we're hurting. Well, only hurting because I survived it. Corpses don't cry. I wet my bed with my tears, the man said. Well, you got to be alive to do that. Never been to a funeral, look in the casket, and there's rivers of tears running down cheeks. Never seen that. So you don't know how many tears I've shed. You're still here. I'm not suggesting you like it. I'm not suggesting it's fun. I'm only giving you or easy, but I'm giving you a way to get through it by saying it hurt me, but it didn't kill me. Here it is, Romans 5:3. And not only so, but we glory in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation worketh. Why would I glory in tribulations? Why would I take joy in times of difficulty? Why would I jump from the arena floor bloodied and bruised and hurting and wounded with a smile on my face and singing, God's been good? I'll tell you why. Because halfway through the battle, the enemy was whispering in my ears, you're not going to make it. Halfway through, he said, you're going to backslide. Halfway through, he said, you're going to hell. Halfway through, I'd about given up hope, but now here I am, and I'm still in church, and I'm still rejoicing, and I'm still praising. Yeah, it hurts, but only survivors hurt. A few years ago, Brother and Sister Carson, their great family, were part of our church, and they may try to figure out when it was. I don't doubt if they can. Back a few years ago, I went through one of the toughest stretches. Pastor and I've been joking this year, preaching, tell folks I'm a recovering pastor. Hi, I'm Scott, and I was a pastor. Hi, Scott. PA, Pastors Anonymous. It's a great group. I was going through a tough stretch, empty and bared. You feel God? No, not right then. I came home and I was standing in my kitchen, and my wife looked at me and said, long day? I said, nope, today was a long month. And I was mad, I'm just frustrated. I'm just like, God, you did this to me. I didn't want to do this. I had a career in computer engineering. You did what? My wife needed something from the basement, so I went down to the basement. Half our basement's finished, half isn't, half is just storage full of junk. I was in a bad mood. I walked back in that half of the basement. I saw 3 boxes sitting over there that we have moved every time we've moved and have never opened the boxes. Now, there can't be anything in there we need. And I was in a mood to throw something away. Bless God, I'm throwing them. I'm going to write the names of about 3 people in the church on the side of those boxes. We'll take it out and throw it in the dumpster. And I'm down there I'm telling you, I'm muttering. I'm having a little fun with it, but I'm dead serious. I was down in the basement saying, I didn't want to do this. I didn't ask to do this. I wasn't that kid at the front of the church going, pick me, pick me. I want to preach. No, I wanted to be a computer engineer. That's what I was on track for. I had a job waiting on me. I was sad. I had a job waiting on me when I got out of college in 1987. They guaranteed me I'd start at $48,000 a year in 1987. I got out of Bible school that same year, became a youth pastor, and made $13. No, I'm kidding. It's just... I'm down in the basement just muttering and fussing. I don't know why I've got to do this. I'm bleeding from 101 cuts from harsh statements and stuff. And I looked over and saw the box. I threw it rascal away. And I grabbed it and just thought, probably ought to just check. And I ripped that box open. I don't even know if y'all have them anymore. This was back right after the dinosaurs died. My yearbooks from Bible school. I pulled a yearbook out, looked at it. Picture of me in my cap and gown. And they let each of us put a verse underneath our picture. If you'd held a gun to my head, I couldn't have told you what verse it was. Had to be in the Old Testament. The New one hadn't been written yet back then. It was a long time ago. No, it was. I couldn't have told you what verse it was, Brother Moody. And I've been spending the last 15 minutes in my basement muttering and fussing about having to do the work of ministry. And I looked under that picture. And it said, I thank my God in that he hath enabled me, calling me into the ministry. I can't tell you what washed over me in that moment. I may be hurting, but I still get to preach. I may be hurting, but I'm still an apostolic. I may be hurting, but Sunday I'm going to baptize somebody in Jesus' name. I may be hurting, but it's not over. I fell down on my knees and lifted my hands and said, God, I thank you for what I've got instead of how I hurt. I thank you for what's still here instead of what's missing. I thank you. It didn't hurt any less. Everything people had said about me had still left cuts in my soul, but I got up saying, I'm still here, devil. It didn't kill me. About 10 minutes ago, you thought maybe I was going to resign and walk away from ministry. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk in on Sunday and preach the New Testament gospel. I'm going to walk in on Sunday and tear your kingdom down. Devil, you got a problem. I may be hurting, but I'm a survivor. You better hear me right now. Hell is not rejoicing over your pain. Hell is terrified by your pain. Because even hell understands if you're hurting, you can pray. If you're hurting, you can worship. If you're hurting, you can still fight. If you're hurting, you can still go on. I want somebody to hear this statement right here. Pain does not say that God was not faithful. Pain declares that you have been faithful. I'm sorry, did I say that in like Yugoslavian or something? Pain doesn't say, God, you failed. Pain says, son, you didn't. So embrace your pain. You don't have to enjoy it, but grab a hold of it and say, you may not understand, but I'm exceedingly joyful even in my tribulations, because only survivors hurt. Boy, I need somebody to lift your voice right now. God's trying to help someone, and you're bleeding when you came here this week. You were hurting when you came here. There's a college kid up here that was thinking about going home because you're hurting so bad. But I'm telling you, God sent you a word tonight. I know you're hurting, but you're surviving. You're still here. You can still make it. Pain testifies that you've been faithful. Be seated in a minute, but I'll tell you what we have to have. Ichabod. His name is shrouded in infamy. Nobody today names their kid Ichabod. I Googled this afternoon famous Ichabods. And except for Washington Irving and the Sleepy Hollow short story he wrote, I Googled famous Ichabods, and even Google said, yeah, I got nothing. It's just, nobody does that. And I can understand why. Who wants to name their kid no glory? I know we always say the glory has departed. That's a nice, beautiful, melodic way to say it, but from what I can read, it just means no glory. But it doesn't just mean it. It's thought from what I can study that it was a lament. It wasn't just, hey, no glory. It was, hey, no glory. That's a great name to grow up with. He had a dark legacy. It didn't have to be that way. His grandfather was Eli, the high priest, only the seventh in Israel's history. But Eli's son Phinehas was a corrupt man. He was wicked and vile. So the judgment of God was pronounced against him, carried out in a battle with the Philistines. While that little boy was yet in his mother's womb, during a disastrous, painful day for the nation, his father and his uncle Hophni were killed in battle. And of even more terrible consequence, the Ark of the Covenant was stolen by the enemy. When word of that horror returned, the babe's grandfather, Eli, fell over backwards off the bench where he sat and died, broke his neck. And no sooner was that done than the boy's mother, she gave birth and died in childbirth. Consider it. His father, his uncle, his grandfather, and now his mama have all died on the same day that the ark was seized by the Philistines. It was a day of pain. It was a day of heartbreak. And it was a day that nobody wanted to remember. It's really not that much of a surprise then that that unnamed midwife did what she did. She labeled that boy by his pain. She called him no glory. She called him no glory. And despite the fact that he had nothing to do with these developments, he was labeled by the pain in his past. He wore the shame of his yesterdays all his life. His name recalled and recounted the disaster of his past whenever it was breathed, and oh, how it had to hurt. Every time anyone called out Ichabod, everybody nearby shivered. When they called roll in school, oh, these guys got great names. God is my judge, Daniel, here. Right? All these great names, all those names, all you Bible schools know this, they end in the IAH, that's Jehovah something. And all the ones that start with have EL, that's God. Some all these great names. God is my judge. Here, teacher. No glory. Here. He walked every day of his life in the pain of his past. Every time he came to church, choir was singing, everybody shouting. The devil just keeps whispering in his ear and reminds him of the pain he's coming through. Such was the path he journeyed through life from the moments his first breath is recorded. And even though he's the grandson of the high priest, listen, this blows my mind. Somebody else, I know there'll be a dozen people who already knew this. I didn't. Even though he was the grandson of the high priest, we read nothing about his life from that point on. He disappears into the fog of the pain in which he lived. But much to my surprise, and I'm not sure how I missed it all these years, Ichabod had a brother. Now, Ichabod's brother obviously had to be older because his mom and dad died the same day Ichabod was born. But he's got an older brother. Didn't even really realize it. 1 Samuel 14, we read of King Saul resting under a pomegranate tree with some of his men. And in the listing, we read this. And Saul tarried in the uttermost part of Gibeah under a pomegranate tree in Migron. And the people that were with him were about 600 men. Look at the next verse. And Ahiah, the son of Ahitub, Ichabod's brother, the son of Phinehas, the son of Eli, the Lord's priest in Shiloh, wearing an ephod. So let me try to trace it for you. He had Eli was the high priest. Then Phinehas was the high priest. And then his son, Ichabod's older brother, Ahitub, was the high priest. And then Ahitub had Ahiah, and he was now the high priest. But veiled in the middle of that verse is the account that Ichabod had a brother named Ahitub. Now, what is amazing to me is what his name means. I looked it up in 4 resources. I wish I'd have had the library on the tables. I'd have looked in more. Right now, I just did it. Right now, he's going, I can make you a deal. I looked it up in 4 different trusted resources because I just couldn't. I marveled at the providence of God. Here's this kid, born in pain, growing up under the shadow of his situation. And years before Ichabod was even conceived, years before that dark day of his birth that was shrouded in tragedy, leading to the horrific identity that he carried, his older brother was christened Ahitub. And the amazing thing to me is that before Ichabod even needed it, God had ordained something to help that boy, because Ahitub, Ichabod's brother, means my brother is good. While everybody else was pointing their finger at him saying there's nothing good, you're trapped in your pain, he had a brother that come alongside him and say, my brother's good, my brother's going to make it, my brother's got this. All I'm telling you is when you hurt, don't leave the church, because you need a brother to come. You need a brother to come up next to you and say, I know what they're saying. I know what hell is telling you, but I believe in you. I believe in your future. I believe God's got plans for you. Don't quit. Don't quit. I know it hurts, but you're my brother, and we're going to make it together. You might look at him and see the shadows of his yesterday. I look at him and I see the promise of his tomorrows. You might look at him and see the gloom of the pain. I look at him and see the promise of healing. You might look at him and see the accumulation of his mistakes. I look at him and I see the magnitude of his potential. You look at him and see what he can't be. I look at him and tell you what he will be. I need some Bible school kids to hear me. I don't care what mistakes you may have made in the past. When the enemy tries to beat you up with that, you need to get with some of your brothers. And somebody's got to put an arm around your shoulder and say, you may not be perfect, but I believe in you. You're going to make. Would you stop tearing each other down, wrap an arm around his shoulder and say, I believe you're going to be a revival pastor. I believe you're going to be a missionary. I believe you're going to be the greatest worship leader we've ever had. We need a brother to say, I know there's pain in your past, but my brother is good. My brother is good. My brother is good. You're going to make it. Stand with me. I believe I'm going to quit. I am not discounting your pain. I know it's been tough, but you're here. Somebody has to look at hell. So you got a problem on your hands. You couldn't kill me. You could only wound me. And I've got some scars, but so does he. Because you see, Jesus, we don't talk about this a lot. In the multiplicity of kind of layers of relationship we have with him. We're part of the bride. He's our husband. He's my father, his son. The Bible also gives me that pattern that he's my older brother. He's the firstborn among many brethren. And just like Ichabod, he was the high priest. Is it any wonder Ichabod, is it any wonder Ichabod would come up and say, hey, he's good? How do you know he's good? I'm the one that carried the blood into the holiest of holies. I dealt with his sin. He's good because I took the blood in there. My older brother wraps his arm around me in my pain and says, don't you let hell tell you that you're too damaged to be used. Don't you let hell tell you that it's so bad I can't do anything with you. I took my own blood. I took my own blood and you're good, you're righteous, you're holy, you're mine. You may be hurting, but you're still here. So I don't know anything to do except just do what I need to do. The altar call at the first is for the hurting.